Welcome to Hutchinson Economic Developments. My name is Miles Seppold. I'm the Economic Development Director for the city. On today's episode, we'll have some updates for you on different projects around town. And then in our second segment, we're going to be sharing the annual report of the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority. So we'll let you know what we've been up to over the course of 2025. So first project updates, Hotel Jorgensen is probably tops on the list, and this project is moving ahead toward demolition. So a lot of work's been going on over these last several weeks. They had a lot of work to do with removing hazardous materials from the building, and I know that the asbestos has been removed, and then they had lead paint and some other things that they had to deal with. That was a several week process, I think, and it should be getting done, if not completely done, this week. So the next step now will be to submit an intent to demolition notice that goes to the state of Minnesota. And then there's a 10-day waiting period. And then I would fully expect demolition, the physical demolition of the building, to take place probably second half of March. So right now we're working with the Minnesota Department of Transportation to kind of work out a traffic management plan around the building for when it gets taken down. My understanding is that probably Washington Avenue will be closed for a period of time, and probably at least one lane, or probably the parking area on Main Street will be closed off in front of the building. So here's a picture of the site, and that green area that you see, that's actually the roof of the Jorgensen. And you can see Washington Avenue on the right-hand side and then Main Street in the foreground. So what's going to happen is that the contractor is going to be putting up some construction fencing all the way around the building. And then, like I said, Washington will get closed for a period of time. The alley behind the building will be closed. And then the parking area in front of the building will be closed off as well. And then they're going to start taking the building down from the alley side, working toward Main Street. So right now, I don't know the exact timing, but we're probably looking at pretty close to the end of March, I think, for all of this to happen. The other big project, of course, is the landing. So here's a rendition. This is an updated rendition of what the finished product is going to look like. So this is on track for this fall. This is an 81-unit apartment that's being constructed on the north end of Franklin Street. And this one is moving ahead very rapidly. So I went out and took some pictures. This is the view of the building coming down Highway 15. So definitely changes the skyline a little bit as you're coming down the hill. Here's a view from Girl Scout Park. All 4 levels of the building are there now, and they're getting the roof put on as we speak, actually. Here's a view of the building from the southeast corner. So on the right-hand side, that's Franklin. On the left, that's First Avenue Northwest. You can see the patio where they have it framed in the corner. And then they're getting the building wrap. That's the white stuff. The building wrap is getting put on. That's what makes the building airtight and keeps it warm. Here's another view just looking a little bit to the left down First Avenue Northwest. And then here's a view from directly behind Cornerstone Commons, so you can see the patio on the left, you can see the roof framing on the top on the right. So things are moving ahead very rapidly. I went out and took these photos just a couple days ago, and they're already significantly out of date. So this project's moving ahead really fast. Here's another view of what it will look like when it's finished. So if you're out on the Crow River looking south at the building, this is what it would look like. And then here's a view from First Avenue looking straight north. So in this picture, the river straight behind the building. So a lot of those roof embellishments, they're getting framed up right now, in fact. So it looks pretty amazing. The other news item is that Guiding Light Early Learning Childhood Daycare, that's open for business. And we're recruiting kids or trying to get kids signed up for this thing. So there's preschool slots and school age slots available. You can call that number on the screen. If you yourself have a need for childcare or know someone else who does, the slots are available. Going out to the Enterprise Center now, we've had some updates out there. We had a company that moved out and has moved to the Twin Cities. I'll have more on that in our second segment. But now we have a space available in the Enterprise Center. So there's up to 8,000 square feet available. It's got loading docks, drive-in doors. It's got a really nice epoxied floor, very low cost. And then it comes with business education. It's an opportunity for somebody to start a business, or if they have an early stage business, to really take it to the next level. So here's a view of the open bay. Very nice modern facility. So for somebody, this will be a really nice fit. So by all means, if you know of anybody looking for space to start a manufacturing company, let me know, because we're shopping. There's another view of the bay, just from another angle. And that's really it for the update. So if you have any questions about anything, certainly feel free to give me a call anytime. There's my number on the screen. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. In our next segment, we're going to talk about the EDA's annual report for the year 2025, and we'll let you know what we've been up to over these last 12 months. So we'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to Hutchinson Economic Developments. My name is Miles Seppold. I'm the Economic Development Director for the city. In this second segment, we're going to give you the annual report for the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority and let you know what we were up to in 2025. So before I kind of launch into that, wanted to share a little bit about artificial intelligence. You may have heard of that. It's probably the next big thing coming along, if not already here. But as an experiment, I used artificial intelligence to help me draft the annual report. And I would have to say that in terms of the amount of time and effort that I spent in preparing the report, I probably reduced that by 90% because of artificial intelligence. So it was really quite amazing, where in the past I used to have to sit there and type out paragraphs. Now I could just type out prompts and the artificial intelligence would write the paragraphs for me. So it was really quite amazing. I think the even more amazing thing is that the power of artificial intelligence doubles approximately every 100 days. So that means that a year from now, in theory, artificial intelligence will be 12 times more powerful than what it is today. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of impact this has on our society. On my end, it's been positive, and we'll just have to see. We'll see how it develops here going forward. Here's a little bit about the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority, just to give you a sense of what the Economic Development Authority is about. We have a mission statement. The mission, that's basically the reason that we exist. That's our why statement. So the mission of the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority is to facilitate redevelopment, job creation, and the success of manufacturing in our community. And really the twin pillars for me as I do my job, it's really about downtown. When we talk about facilitating redevelopment, it's downtown redevelopment, and then the success of manufacturing. So those are the two main items that are the reason that we have an EDA, and that's what we focus on. The vision then, that's what success looks like. When we have arrived, when we've made it, when we feel like we've succeeded, what does Hutchinson look like? So that's the vision statement. In this particular case, the EDA vision statement is that Hutchinson will have a vibrant, attractive downtown, be a thriving center for precision high-tech manufacturing, and be recognized as Minnesota's leader in innovative, project-oriented economic development. We like to do projects. So that's the vision. And then finally, we have our values statement, and the values, those are just the things that are important to us. As an economic development authority, what's important? And so for us, it's those 5 bullet points. It's 1, a commitment to excellence. Number 2, it's collaboration, partnership, and teamwork to achieve goals. 3, it's integrity, honesty, and good communication in our relationships. Number 4, it's innovation and creativity in the way that we do our work. And then number 5 is the most important, achieving results for our community. We want to deliver results for you guys. So that's a little bit about the EDA, our mission, our vision, our values. What we'll cover now in the annual report is just a few items. So I'll talk just briefly about how we're governed. We'll talk a little bit about downtown development, a little bit about childcare, business development, industrial development, workforce, how we market the community with our marketing efforts, and then I'll just touch lightly on our work plan and goals for this upcoming year. So the Hutchinson Economic Development Authority, we are super fortunate that we have an excellent board of directors. We have a 7-member board of directors, there's 2 city council members, and then 5 business leaders in the community that serve on the board. And then we also have sitting in on those meetings as a non-voting member, the manager of Hutchinson Utilities. So the board is the ones that they really govern the EDA. They're the ones that are making the decisions one month to the next. And then we have another group that advises the EDA, and that's the EDA finance team. That's another set of business leaders in the community. And their function really is to look at everything related to the numbers of economic development, and then from that form recommendations that they forward on to the board of directors. Like I said, I think we're super lucky that we have such an outstanding team that is directing economic development in Hutchinson. It really makes my job very easy. It's a very visionary group, and it's a group that really likes to get things done, and I think it really shows. So we're just super fortunate to have them on the team. This year, 2025, the EDA spent a lot of effort working on downtown redevelopment. And so probably the biggest project there is the landing. And this one was actually a multi-year project. It just was years in the making to pull this thing together. But we finally reached the finish line in 2025. So in the last year, we went through a process to recruit the developer, which was Granite City Real Estate from St. Cloud. We actually went through a process where we put together a document. It's called a request for proposals. We sent that out to multiple developers. 3 of them provided proposals for us to review, and then we invited them to Hutchinson, and they actually made a pitch to the board and the city council to tell us what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it. And then from that process, we narrowed it down to 1. That was Granite City Real Estate, and now they're doing the project. The other big task over the course of this year was to put together a public financing package to make this project work. Developers, they do things because they want to make an investment and have that investment turn out good. And sometimes it's just necessary that there's a public component to do that. And without the public assistance, the project just simply would not happen. So we had to do some pretty significant work to figure out what were the dimensions of that public assistance package. And then we had to put together an agreement called a development agreement between the developer and the city. And that laid out exactly who was doing what and who's responsible for what. So we completed that whole process in the fall of the year. And then it was just a few weeks after that that GC Real Estate, Granite City Real Estate, started construction on the landing. So this is a $20 million project. It's the biggest single project ever to take place in downtown Hutchinson. So we're pretty happy with this one. The other really big project downtown, of course, was the Hotel Jorgensen. This one is a real key to downtown redevelopment, and it's a project that we've been working on for years and years. And I would say redevelopment efforts on this particular property have been going on since the 1980s, long before I came to Hutchinson. And there were many attempts by many developers to try to redevelop the property. And it just was not going to come together from a financial perspective. So the EDA got involved, and we recruited the developer. This is Titanium Partners out of Duluth was the developer for this one. So we recruited them. They bought the Jorgensen a couple years back. And then as they were planning out the project and thinking about where they wanted to go with this property, they settled on development of a hotel. But the physical footprint of the hotel required more space than the Jorgensen would allow. So it became necessary that the Cook Jewelry Building had to be acquired and incorporated into this project. So the EDA was very involved, deeply involved for months, negotiating the purchase of the Cook Jewelry Building and taking some steps to help facilitate that whole process. So very deep involvement, a lot of hours spent working on that. And then along with that, we obtained a grant from the state of Minnesota to help with the demolition cost. To demolish the Jorgensen and the Cook Jewelry Building, that's going to be over $300,000, maybe significantly more. And so we were able to get a grant from the state for $150,000 to help defray some of those costs. And again, this all goes towards helping make the project work financially. So other things that we had to do, we had to put in place a tax increment financing package, and there was a lot of negotiation with the developer on that. And then again, putting together a development agreement. It was an amazing process, but we made it. And so now demolition is scheduled here for the end of March. And the current plan now is for a new 40-room hotel on that same site. So it's probably going to be a taller building, probably 4 or 5 stories instead of the current 3-story building. So it'll change the skyline a little bit. This one's estimated to be a $12 million project. So once this gets going on construction, should be pretty impressive to see. And here I should note that we're probably a year or 2 out from actual construction. I'll have to talk with the developer and get an update on it, but that was what he was telling me, is that we're going to take the existing building down, and then there might be a little bit of a pause before we move to the next phase. But I'll be back with information about that in future episodes. Another big project we're working on downtown is what's called the Festival Street. And this is just a pedestrian-friendly gathering place for community events. And so we're looking at First Avenue Southeast next to Library Square. And the idea is to reconfigure this and then add some overhead lighting. So I think the first phase of the project is going to be the addition of lighting, new light poles, and then we'll string lighting over the street, basically from Main Street all the way back to Hassan. So it should look pretty neat once it's done. And that'll be just the first phase. The project is big enough that we're probably going to have to do it in multiple phases over several years, but we're hoping to get this first phase done relatively quickly. So in 2025, we got the planning for that done. The schematic design has been completed, and right now we're in the process of lining up an engineer to do the actual engineering design work that's required. And then if we can, we're going to try and pull this off yet in 2026. So we'll just have to wait and see if we can sneak this project in. If it does happen, it'll be probably towards the fall, but we'll see. We'll find out. Another project downtown is just public parking wayfinding. We have a lot of public parking lots in downtown Hutchinson, but visitors and sometimes our own people have a hard time finding them. And so one project that we identified is to install some larger and more obvious signage to help people find the parking lots. So you can see in the illustration there's a figure there of a person approximately 6 feet tall. These signs are probably 9 feet tall, so they're definitely going to be noticeable. So right now the planning and design work for these things is done, and we'll probably look at having these installed sometime probably next year, probably be a 27 project when this happens. Another project for the downtown was to reinvigorate the Hutchinson Downtown Association. So the EDA was involved. We just kind of helped really on all levels to help facilitate the relaunch and finding a new board of directors and launching this downtown association again. So now it's up and running, and they've got a new board, and they've got exciting plans for the future. So we're super interested to see how that all moves forward. Another project was a partnership that we did with Citizens Bank and the Chamber of Commerce, was to develop a community smartphone application for the smartphone. And so this is out on the web store now, the app store. You can go on the app store and download this. It's free, the Much and Hutch app. You can just search for that. And it's really everything all in one about the Hutchinson community: where to eat, shopping options, entertainment options, where to work, announcements, pretty much everything you can think of. If it's not already on the app, it will be. And so it's really the ultimate one-stop shop of everything Hutchinson for your smartphone. So the EDA, we helped with obtaining a grant to help make this possible. And then we also budgeted $5,000 a year to help support this thing going forward. So it's kind of built into our budget here for years going ahead. And then, of course, the EDA, we have multiple programs to help support the downtown businesses and downtown building owners. So for the year, we rolled out 6 sign and awning grants, totaling over $10,000. We have another grant program called the Facade Matching Grant Program. So we rolled out 5 of those, totaling more than $27,000. That's for building owners to enhance their storefronts. And then we also authorized 2 commercial rehabilitation loans totaling $97,000. So pretty substantial investment by the EDA into the downtown. And we do this every year, very consistent in making these investments. Another big project for the year for the EDA was opening the Guiding Light Daycare Center. So this was a pretty time-consuming project. And what had happened is that we were approached by the folks that wanted to operate Guiding Light, and they said to us that they needed $80,000 to help get this on its feet and get it going. So the EDA did the fundraising. We pulled together the money to help make this happen. Part of that was obtaining a $40,000 grant from the state of Minnesota. And then we also engaged Southwest Initiative Foundation, the Burrich Foundation, a couple other ones, and then the EDA itself stepped in with a sizable financial contribution to help make this work. But now Guiding Light is open. We got 42 new slots created. Now the push is on just to get the daycare center opened, filled up. We need to get 42 kids in there now to take these slots. The other thing that we did this year is we have a grant program to help family daycare businesses get started, and really any kind of daycare type of business. So we have a grant program, and it's an award based on the number of slots created. So currently we will award up to $225 per child care slot created in the city of Hutchinson, up to $15,000. So if somebody wants to start a child care business in their house, or else if they want to open a child care center, either way, we can help with that. So for 2025, we awarded 4 grants that totaled over $16,000 to help create new child care slots in the community. Switching now to the industrial park, really 2 areas of emphasis. Number 1 was just business retention and expansion. That's taking care of our existing companies. Number 2 is the enterprise center, where we're helping companies get started and get on their feet. So with the business retention program, our goals really there is just to help facilitate the success and the growth of our existing family of manufacturing companies. We do that by visiting them on a regular basis. Basically, the goals are to communicate our appreciation that they're here in Hutchinson. We want to identify any challenges that they are facing, and then we want to do everything we can to help them grow should the circumstances permit that. So, BRE visits for the year, we made 10 visits to 10 local manufacturers. Overall, companies are doing well. Most of them are busy. Some of them are extremely busy. A couple of them are expanding and adding new jobs. So overall, the manufacturing side of our economy is doing pretty well here in Hutchinson. At the Enterprise Center, we had Laser Dynamics, otherwise it's known as GVL Medical. They graduated and now have moved out of the Enterprise Center. They went to the city of Plymouth, and this was really driven by their customers. They just felt like they had to get closer to their customers, and those were all coming from the Twin Cities. So we would have preferred to keep them here in Hutchinson, but we realized that that's not always possible. GVL Medical or Laser Dynamics, they were in the Enterprise Center for a number of years, and really took off at the end. They had the last 6 months were their best 6 months as a company. So they're graduating and they're going on to a successful future, and we had a role to play in it. So we'll call that a victory. We didn't get to keep them here in town, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. The other news item at the Enterprise Center is that we recruited Demos Materials. This is a plastics manufacturer. Actually, they make the resins that other companies will turn into plastic products. And the fun thing here now is that the plastics that they make are totally biodegradable. So that's a major issue in our world today with plastics lingering on. So this could be the next big thing. So this is a brand new company. They're just starting up from scratch. And so they're at the Enterprise Center, and now we're going to help them grow over these next several years. The other news item at the Enterprise Center is that we're doing a solar project that will give us 10 times the solar capacity at the Enterprise Center than we have today. Right now we have 1 kilowatt of electricity that comes from solar power. When this project gets done, we'll be at 11. So a massive increase in our renewable energy usage at the Enterprise Center. So that's exciting. On the workforce development side, one thing we did in 2025 was to launch our Women in the Workforce internship. And in 2025, or the 2024-25 school year, that was Lauren Lindemeyer. And so the goals with this are for her to learn about leadership, to connect with other female leaders and find out from them how they were able to be successful and how she can be successful. A third goal is for her to be a Tiger Path ambassador to represent the high school and then also the city of Hutchinson. And then finally, we wanted her to recruit young ladies to take career and technical education classes. So Lauren did a fantastic job. She recruited a whole bunch of young women to be taking welding and other tech ed classes at Hutchinson High School. So here's a picture. This is just some of them. We couldn't even get them all in the room. And I can just say right now that as of today, Hutchinson High School, we have more young women taking these classes than ever before in history. And probably more than any other high school in Minnesota. I mean, it was a smashing success. Now we have a new Women in the Workforce intern, and she's at work, and we'll see how that one goes. But so far, so good. This is all part of our program here to develop more workers. We need more workers to fill all the open jobs that we have in Hutchinson. So our goal is to recruit more young women to be able to take these jobs, and this is part of that bigger project. Finally, Marketing Hutchinson. We do this through our EDA website. We have a social media presence on Facebook. And then we connect with other regional economic development partners, such as the Southwest Initiative Foundation, Mid-Minnesota Development Commission, and the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. All to market Hutchinson because we're looking for expansions, manufacturing expansions, to hopefully do those expansions in Hutchinson. And then also as part of our marketing, we're members of what's called the Community Venture Network, and that's a method for us to be able to meet companies that are looking to expand. So it's more of a direct connection. So that's pretty much the report. The big challenges that we have going on: workforce shortage. Right now I have over 100 jobs open that I cannot get filled. We have an ongoing childcare shortage. We need probably another 300 slots that don't exist yet. So that's a big challenge. And then finally, we don't have enough housing. So that is another item that we got to work on. Looking forward, we'll be doing more business retention visits. Our focus for 2026 is probably going to be on downtown. We want to really get this Festival Street to take off, and there's a lot of work to be done on the Hotel Jorgensen and so forth. I've got to get a new company out to the Enterprise Center, so we'll be working on that. We're going to continue working on developing our skilled workforce, hopefully facilitate the creation of some childcare businesses, housing development, and then of course the normal marketing and public relations. And then on top of that, we'll try to do some grant writing, see if we can pull in some grant money to help facilitate our other work. So that's the report. If anybody has any questions, or if you want a written copy of the report, certainly give me a call. There's my number on the screen. I'd certainly be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So that's it for this week's edition of Hutchinson Economic Developments. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.